Blinky Bill Classic Treasury. Blinky Bill goes shopping. It was morning in the animal village. The sun was just warming a path of green grass that grew beside Blinky Bill's treehouse. Some of Blinky's friends had gathered on grass and were talking to Blinky, who was sitting on a branch just above them, finishing his breakfast of gum leaf flakes. "I found something yesterday," said Blinky between mouthfuls. "What is it?" asked Nutsy Koala. "It was a medal that was given to some kangaroos by a human lady for doing something brave or dangerous or something," said Blinky as he jumped down to join his friends. "Show us," cried Marcia Mouse. "There, see?" said Blinky as he held up the medal. "It's round and shiny," said Flat Platypus. "And it does have a picture of kangaroos on one side and a human lady on the other," said Nutsy. At that moment, Blinky's best friend, Splodge Kangaroo, hopped up. "What are you all looking at?" he asked. Marcia told him. Splodge started laughing and said, "That's not a medal, that's a coin. It's a thing humans give to other humans who own shops so they can get things in the shop. It's called money." "That's right, Splodge." Blinky scratched his head and said, "Do you mean I can take this to a human shop and they will give me all the things in it?" "I think so," said Splodge. "Good," said Blinky. "I'm going to the human shop and I'll get something for all of us." "You can't," said Nutsy. "They won't let a koala into the shop." "Yeah, Nutsy's right, Blinky. Humans don't really allow animals in their shops. Unless, of course, they're service animals. And you're not a service animal, so they definitely won't allow you in there. "I'll wait till they're not looking," said Blinky. "Then I'll sneak in, get what I want, leave the coin, and sneak out again." "Let's go then," said Marcia Mouse. Blinky and his friends ran out of the village, over the creek, and along the old bush path. When they came to the humans' hard black road, Splodge stopped everyone and said, "This road is very dangerous. We'll have to be very careful." "Yes," answered Nutsy, "and if my mother finds out I've been on this road, I'll really get into trouble." "Me too," put in Flap. "And me," said Marcia Mouse. "I'm going anyway," said Blinky, and he set off down the road. "Man, you're really gonna be in trouble, Blinky." After a while, Blinky and his friends could see the shop. "We should get off the road," said Splodge. They crept along in the bushes until they could see the shop door across the road. As they watched, a human lady came out and disappeared behind the shop. "She's left the door open," whispered Splodge. "Yes," said Marcia as she climbed up a tree. "She's gone to the little shed in the backyard." "I'm going in," said Blinky as he walked out onto the road. Nutsy ran after him. "Be careful, Blinky." Just then, a rattly old truck came speeding around the bend, straight at Blinky and Nutsy. "Roar," growled the truck engine. "Ah!" screamed Blinky as he ran towards the shop, dragging his terrified friend with him. The truck rushed past and disappeared around the corner, leaving behind a cloud of smelly smoke. Ew. Blinky and Nutsy ran straight through the open door of the shop and skidded to a halt at the sweets corner. "What was that?" cried Nutsy. "That was what humans call a truck," said Blinky. "That's right. Humans call that a truck." Well, I know here in America we do. In other countries, they call it a lorry. Other countries like the United Kingdom. "Wow, look at all these colorful things," cried Blinky. "There's a chocolate sweet that looks like a koala," said Nutsy, tasting it. "I want that big red one up there," said Blinky as he climbed up on the shelves. Miss Pim, the storekeeper, walked in the front door of the shop just as Blinky had reached the top shelf. "Ah!" screamed Blinky as the shelf broke and he fell, bringing all the boxes of sweets with him. "Ah!" cried Miss Pim as the sweets scattered everywhere. "Ah!" screamed Nutsy as she saw Miss Pim and scrambled over a bag of flour, sending up plumes of dust. "Oops," said Blinky as he knocked over a bucket of milk and fell into a jar of honey. "Urgh!" said Miss Pim as the milk sloshed around her feet. "Help!" shrieked Nutsy as Miss Pim popped her into a flour bag and tied the top. "Gotcha!" said Miss Pim as she scooped up a very sticky Blinky into the milk bucket. Miss Pim sat on the bucket and said crossly, "Look at the mess you've made. What am I going to do with you?" growled a very sticky Blinky as he scratched at the bucket. "I know," said Miss Pim. "I'll telephone the vet and he'll come and take you both away." As she reached up for the telephone, her bottom lifted off the bucket, just enough for Blinky to stand up. He ran out of the shop with the bucket over his head. Blinky's friends, who were still hiding in the bushes, were really worried when they heard noises coming from the shop. "Wah!" yelled Flap as a bucket ran across the road. "Eek!" screamed Marcia as the bucket ran up to her. Blinky lifted the bucket off his head and stood there, dripping with honey. "She's caught Nutsy," he puffed. "Oh no!" they all cried. "She's tied up in a bag," said Blinky. "We have to rescue her." "Well, you better do it fast." While Blinky and his friends were trying to think up a plan, an old van pulled up. It had a sign painted on the side that read, "Veterinarian." An elderly man and a young girl stepped out and went into the shop. "What are they doing?" asked Marcia. "They're coming out," said Blinky. "And look, that's the bag that Nutsy is in." The man and girl gently lifted the bag into the back of the van, waved to Miss Pim, and drove off. "They've taken Nutsy!" cried Marcia. "And we don't know where," said Blinky. "I do," said Splodge. "I've seen that van at a house further down the road. You know, that human house with another on top of it?" Well, we've just got to rescue her. So let's go," called Blinky as he started running down the road. The van drove up to the 2-story house, and the man and girl got out. They lifted the bag out of the van and asked a kindly woman to help them inside. "Is it hurt?" she asked. "I don't think so," the man replied. Then he turned to the little girl and said, "Clea, will you help me clean all that flour off her fur? She can spend a quiet night in a box, and if she looks all right in the morning, we'll put her back in the trees near the shop." "Can the box be in my room tonight, Grandpa?" asked Clea. I think so. She needs someone gentle like you around because she had quite a fright, replied her grandfather. Hmm, those three humans are pretty friendly. I mean, they are veterinarians, and veterinarians like to help animals. It was getting dark when Blinky and his friends arrived at the veterinarian's house, so they stood in the shadows and made plans. Well, I think we should wait until they're all in bed, said Splodge. Everyone agreed, so they waited and watched until the last light went out. Let's go, said Blinky, and they tiptoed up to the front door. It's not locked, said Splodge as they crept inside.
I wonder which room Nutsy is in,
whispered Flap. I'll find out, said Marcia. She knocked softly on the wall and called, Anyone home? Yes, whispered a tiny voice as a mouse popped his head out. Have you seen a girl koala? Asked Marcia.
Yes,
answered the mouse.
She's in the little human's room at the top of the stairs.
Thank you, said Marcia.
Okay, said Blinky.
Now we know where Nutsy and the girl are, but we don't know where the other humans are. So while I rescue Nutsy, you three keep a lookout. Then a very scared Blinky climbed the stairs. When he came to the room at the top, he found the door open. Blinky walked into Clea's room. It was very dark. A single moonbeam shone through the window onto the box with ears sticking out of one end and feet sticking out of the other.
Nutsy, wake up,
whispered Blinky, gently shaking the box.
What?
Mumbled Nutsy as she woke up.
Come on, said Blinky. We have to get out of here.
Click! Suddenly the room was full of light. Clea blinked with surprise, her hand still on her bedside lamp. Ah! Yelled Blinky as he dived over Clea's toy box and crashed to the floor, sending toys clattering across the room. As he scrambled to his feet, he stepped on a horn which honked so very loudly. Come on, Nutsy! He yelled, grabbing her hand and dragging her from the room. Clea's grandparents had been woken by the noise. They came out of their bedroom just in time to see Blinky and Nutsy running down the stairs. Splodge shouted, Humans! Flap turned to run and fell over Marcia. Splodge kept hopping up and down, yelling, Run! Run! Until Blinky ran into him, knocking him over onto Flap. There was so much flapping and struggling and scrambling as the animals pushed and shoved each other, all trying to be the first one out the door. Whew. Oh, man. That took a lot out of me. As they fled, Clea ran down the steps. The other animals came and got the little girl koala, she told her grandparents. Yes, smiled her grandfather. She must have been a very special koala because the others had to be brave to rescue her like that. Indeed, those other animals are her friends, her very best friends, especially Blinky. Outside, Blinky and his friends didn't stop running until they were deep in the bush. That was scary, puffed Splodge. Yes, said Blinky, those humans are big and very ferocious. Nutsy started to laugh. The humans were gentle and kind, she said. The girl was the best. She showed me all her dolls and toys. She was really nice. Yeah, so you see, guys, not all humans are bad. Some are actually really nice. Like me. Marcia coughed and said, Well, I'm glad you're safe, Nutsy, and I'm glad nobody got hurt. But hadn't we better get back home? Uh-oh, moaned everyone. Now we're really in trouble. It was a very tired group of animals that had to walk all the way home in the dark, and every one of them was thinking, I bet Mom's really mad at me, or Dad's going to yell a lot. When they reached the village, they were about to go their separate ways when Jacko Kookaburra saw them and shouted, They're back! They've come home! Mothers and fathers came rushing out of the houses and were so pleased to see their children that they didn't scold them. That they didn't even scold them. Well, not that night anyway. Oh dear. Blinky and his friends are really gonna be in trouble. The end. What would you go shopping for? Let me know in the comments below. See you later. Bye.